building it instead. So we're going to get into it today. I'm so excited to have a long-term client of mine, Shannon Thompson, who has been with me on and off for 10 years. There was a stretch in the middle where we took a break from coaching altogether. Today she is back, she's doing great, and she's going to tell you exactly what happened in between. Because I really believe that in between is the part we need to be talking about, but nobody really does. So let's talk about this. So, Shannon, I'm so excited
Hi,
you're here. Thanks for being here.
thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, you came to me, I want to say 2016, 2017,
hmm
after years of competing. And I remember meeting you at Starbucks, and you were a fucking hot mess express.
Yep, that sounds about right.
So, compared to that time to where you are right now, what would you say is like in one sentence, how different are you from that person that sat down with me at Starbucks?
I am a completely different person.
Yeah.
I was living in the, I was lying to myself a lot about where I was at with my eating disorder and my, disordered eating habits. And I, was convincing myself that I was healed and recovered, which was very much not the truth.
Hmm.
And I am in a place where I'm no longer lying to myself. I still struggle occasionally, but, most of the time I'm doing really well.
Perfect. Okay, this is awesome. So I want you to take me back to before you hired me and you first started competing. What drew you in to the world of bikini prep?
Yeah, so I was anorexic growing up in high school. And I really struggled with really all of the eating disorders throughout my life, but that was mostly starving myself. And I was running a lot and I got a stress fracture in my foot, and I was told that I needed to build some muscle. And so I would think I was 17, and I started going to the gym and I liked it. I discovered competing and bodybuilding, and I thought I could do that. And so I dove right into it because it was a much healthier way to have an eating disorder. Um,
100%. That's the lie we tell ourselves.
yeah, exactly. And,
Yeah.
everyone in my life that was worried about me was like, look at this. She's eating, she's taking good care of herself.
Mhm.
Meanwhile, everything in my head was the exact same as it had been before. It was just a different beast.
Yeah, and it was a very validated beast.
Yes, very much.
Yeah. So tell me, before you and I started working together, you worked with a different coach. And
Mhm.
like, what was that looking like week to week for you?
It was a meal plan. There was no macro tracking, no like, no everything fits. It was these are the foods that you eat and these are the meals that you eat.
Mhm.
And I did my first competition at 17, like before I graduated high school, in figure. And I afterwards was told that I would not go very far if I didn't take some extra supplements,
Drugs.
steroids, drugs
Drugs. Drugs
at 18.
at 18.
Yeah. And
Perfect.
so I did that.
Yep.
Yeah. And, fast forward to the hot mess that you met in Starbucks.
100%. Yeah.
hmm
So at what point in that experience with drug culture, with competing at such a young age, with really living in your eating disorder, but having it masked by the multiple meals per day, when did you realize something was wrong? Like, not just like all of the process was hard, but when was it wrong?
I think part of me knew it the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't want to admit it to myself.
Hmm.
Um, yeah.
Hmm. And like, what happened to you with that experience with using and with the extreme dieting? Like, what happened to you hormonally and
Well,
mentally?
so after my first competition I did, I graduated high school and I went traveling in Europe with a friend and with my choir and then with a friend for a month. And I gained 30 pounds
Yeah.
in a month. I had to buy new clothes on my trip.
Yeah.
And then and then I decided I was going to do another show because I needed to fix my body. And then after that second show, when I had been using the drugs, it was just like a whole different animal. My hormones were just like completely a train wreck.
Hmm.
And I still gained all that weight after the show, but I was also just like a hormonal mess.
Hormonal apocalypse.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like when you think back to that time, what did you believe about yourself and your body while you were in the
I
experience?
I believed that my body was the most important thing about me and that my worth came from my body.
Yes. Yes. It's so true. And that's the thing that when you're getting that validation, especially at a young age, especially if there'd been like negative reinforcement prior, you get that validation, and then suddenly that is your worth. That is who
Yeah.
you are. Yeah. So I want to ask you, like, what made you reach out to me and try coaching again after where you were at? Because you came to me for prep.
hmm I'm trying to remember because it was so long ago. I think I just, well, I think, I wanted to do another prep to once again fix my body, but
Yeah.
I knew that I needed a different approach because what I had done previously was not good.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like, when you compare back to what we did in prep, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit more because there's a big rabbit hole that happened afterwards, but the difference between how we approach prep versus how you'd approached it before, like, one, you didn't use drugs, but the other part of it, like, how was it different for you?
It was definitely night and day. The being able to, I mean, not that I did this because I was still struggling with an eating disorder, but being allowed to fit whatever foods I wanted into my diet,
Yeah.
instead of being told, these are the 10 foods that you can eat, was like such a huge difference because it was like, no foods were wrong,
Yeah.
which, made a huge difference.
Yeah. And for somebody
Yeah.
who's labeled foods good or bad their whole life,
Yes,
like, just
exactly.
that changes some of the dynamic.
Yeah.
So the thing is, though, is we went to the stage twice, right?
hmm
Two preps. I want to say 2017 fall, and then we did another one 2018. Am I
Yeah.
right?
I
Yeah.
think that's right. Yeah.
So the thing is I remember you getting ready for your show in 2018, and definitely some concerns that I started to have post show for you about where you were struggling and where you were sitting. So I want you to kind of walk me through our coaching relationship, what you felt like you were hiding from me and hiding from yourself was still struggling, even though you were still, not using drugs and you're flexible dieting this time.
hmm what was I hiding? I think I really wanted to keep that body all the time.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to, like, I couldn't even admit to myself that, like, that was the case,
Yeah.
but like, I couldn't let it go.
Yeah.
Um, and, and after that last show, like, my body had had enough because I was flexible dieting, but I was also still like, I was still labeling foods as good and bad. Um, and so my body had just had enough. And so then I started to have all of the digestive issues and the hormonal issues and, the struggle. I think over the years since I got my period at 13, there was about 4 years of my life that I didn't have a period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's an interesting and a very important part of the conversation we have around adaptation, metabolic adaptation
hmm
is gut health. And just because you didn't rebound post show this time, you didn't gain the 30, 40 pounds, you stayed super, super lean, you were having a lot of health complications with
Yeah.
your gut. And then in your mind, still, even though you're flexible dieting and you've got all these like other tools that we say, oh, well, it's a healthier path, it was still leading you down because the seed was still planted from a young age that this was a way to manage and control your body.
100%. And
Yeah.
the feeling was still my worth is my body.
Yeah. So I remember that there was a period of time where you were really dealing with SIBO, the small
Yeah.
intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And that was post show, and you weren't gaining weight. Like, if anything, I remember looking at your progress pics and you were just getting smaller and smaller and
Yes.
smaller. Were you restricting at that time as well?
Yeah, I think somewhat. I remember because I was still working with you for training, but I had hired a health coach to help me with my gut health because I was struggling so much.
Yeah.
And I was on an elimination diet, and it quickly turned into like, a form of orthorexia where I was like, I started to be afraid of all kinds of foods. And I remember at one point I was eating about five foods. And so, yeah, it turned into, just another relapse.
Totally. And like, that's the whole thing too, is we sometimes can go on to pursue this next problem and the next problem and
Mhm.
the next problem. And like SIBO's very real. I've had episodes of it myself, and so I know how debilitating it is. And yes, like you can get to the point where like, what the fuck can I eat without my
Yeah.
body having a reaction? But there's that difference between, okay, my body is reacting to these foods because of this bacterial overgrowth, and I'm also in the driver's seat of controlling the bus with food because I still want to stay small.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was just like obsessed with how my body looked. Like I was obsessed with how bloated I would get, and I would be constantly checking my stomach in the mirror every day to see how bloated I was.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny, when you think of that bloat, you're probably like now you're like, that was
Oh, it's
nothing.
nothing.
Like I'll take that bloat any
Yeah,
day.
right? It was no big deal.
Uh, okay, so talk to me about what led you to decide, okay, we're going to stop working together. And it was the SIBO, right? Or was there something else where you were like, okay, I have to dismount from this and go on with life?
Yeah, I can't really remember exactly. I kind of went through a period of um having a really tumultuous relationship with the gym in general
Yes, I
after,
know.
years and years of training, and that was my whole focus. So I kind of like I kept working out, but like it was less, and I kind of just like I had to just let myself live and
Mm,
like give things time. I think like a
mhm.
lot of what healed my gut was honestly time,
Yeah,
and just like letting myself eat things and not worrying if they made me bloated. And like, now I can eat pretty much everything, but it took time.
a long
And so I
time.
think yeah, a long time, years.
Years. And I think that's the thing that a lot of women miss when they've done these extreme things to their body. And the thing with SIBO is it can come on from the stress of extreme
Hmm.
contest dieting, in just how much disruption there is in the gut. And that doesn't get talked about enough when we're talking about metabolic adaptation. Everybody talks about the calories in, calories out equation and how lean you can get after you restore
Yeah.
your metabolism. But we are not talking enough about the actual mental health aspect of metabolic adaptation, which is what happens when you're on that loop that
Yeah.
continues to drive stress into your body, and then also how it impacts the gut.
Hmm.
Yeah, doesn't get talked about enough. And I think that's one thing for me as a coach is, especially after doing this for like 14, 15 years with metabolism coaching, is there's always, this ideal way to heal metabolism and help a client achieve their overall wellness. But the reality is there's so many more moving facet pieces to it than
Yeah.
just that.
Hmm.
So when we stopped coaching, what did that time away actually look like for you? Like, walk me through that first bit where you're like, okay, I'm going on my healing journey. What did that look like for you?
So at first it really looked like like the what do they call it? I can't think of the word, but just like basically letting go of all of my, my mostly made up food intolerances, and just
Hmm.
like accepting that there was going to be some time where I was bloated and just eating everything, and just letting it be. So
Hmm.
that probably like for about a year, that's what I did.
Hmm.
And then I'd gained like, I've never been overweight, but I like probably gained 20 pounds. And then I started to have those thoughts come back about
Uh-huh.
like, I don't like this. And I would go away for a weekend and eat a lot of food. And then in the ferry or on the ride home, I'd be like making a list of all the things that I was going to do on Monday.
Oh,
And,
yes.
yeah, yeah.
Monday.
Monday.
Go
Yeah,
deep.
this
Go
is
deep for
yeah.
me here.
100, and then I would do that for a couple days, and then I wouldn't do one of the things, and then I would be like, "Oh, to hell with it all," and then the cycle would continue. And
Yep.
so I did that for quite a while.
Such a typical loop, buddy.
Yep.
It's the main loop because especially you gain the 20 pounds, you give up that control, and you're like, well, shit, I know how to dial it in. And you start kind of going back to the thing that broke you, but then your brain isn't connected with it, and it becomes a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that went on for a while, and then I like well, how old was I? 20, I think at 24, I decided that I had a drinking problem, um, which I don't. T-
Yeah.
But and I, started going to AA and NA with my partner who's in recovery. And looking back, it was due to my codependency issues, but that's a whole other story. But what I did find there, even though I am not an alcoholic, is community and the realization that, like, it should really just be called Problems Anonymous because it's all the same shit.
That's a good point,
Yeah,
like eating disorders, drug addiction, alcohol addiction, sex addiction, all kinds of addictions, whether you label it or whatever you want to label it, it's all the same shit. It's just a
yeah,
different vice.
yeah. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I was missing connection,
Yeah.
like really bad.
Yeah.
And so I think that kind of started me on this, I was sober for 3 years, but in that time it kind of started me on this journey of like, yeah, connecting with people more and like, healing my eating disorder.
So I'm curious, what made you think that you had a drinking problem?
I was just drinking a bit too much. And I don't think, I think I convinced myself I did because my boyfriend at the time, now fiance, was going. And I was very codependent at the time and I wanted to spend all of the time together. And look, I'm like, maybe you'll like me more if I do this with you.
Ah,
Hmm.
it's that old self-worth, hey?
Hmm.
And
Yeah, it's
that,
all about the self worth.
right. And so like this is major growth that you've done over the last like few years, not just with food and body, but also with your relationship with yourself.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Very much. Yeah.
So keep going.
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, like I used to, when I was at my fittest, I would think, oh, I love my body, but it was actually, I love my body because it looks like this.
Yeah,
And now I can say like, I love my body because I love my body.
totally. And you're happier in your life, which is a huge thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, was there like a super low point that you went through, during all of that time that you're willing to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, I think the time that I was working with this health coach and I was eating five foods and I was living at home with my parents and I had no friends,
Mhm.
or I wouldn't reach out to my friends that I did have. And so they stopped reaching out to you. So basically my mom was my friend.
Right.
And I was just like, my mom says that she used to wake up and wonder what version of me she'd get every day because I was just like a complete train wreck. Um, and I just like, all I wanted to do was like lay around the house and feel bad for myself.
So it's depression almost.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's like, did you want to go back to controlling food during that time, or were you?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, did you ever start doing that again? Did that ever come back on? Or was it more just the repetitive loop of controlling some things and then,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah. It never fully came back on after that. It was just like I'd think about it and
yeah,
then I would start it and then I wouldn't stick it out and then I'd feel like I was failing myself and the loop would continue.
right. And that's like that. I think that's the thing, right? We think we're healed from something, we think we're good, and then we keep having to go through it in different ways until we truly do heal from it.
Yeah.
So, my question to you is like, you came to me in January. And I hadn't heard from you in years. And I want to know, like, what made you finally decide to reach back out and start coaching again?
Um, yeah, I was working out and eating okay, but I was like feeling a little bit lost with my fitness. I was like, I like to do workouts that I didn't make, so I was like using an app that was
Mhm.
just like cookie cutter workouts. And I was not food prepping really. And so I was like eating the same, like, you know, quick food at home all the time and eating out a lot. And I was just like feeling like I should start taking better care of myself.
That's fair. That's fair. And so, like, when you did come back this time, what changed with what we were doing?
Well, it was very different this time because most of our time working together was like, contest prep or like dieting out of a contest.
Hmm.
So it was like definitely an adjustment to have it be like, oh, this is just for life. So it's not so like all or nothing.
Hmm.
Because that's what I'm used to is like all or nothing.
Totally. And so, do you still have those moments now with the all or nothing mindset?
Very rarely. Mostly not really around my food, mostly around like my workouts and getting things done in the schedule that I expect them to be done, which is, more so my just like perfectionism.
Totally.
Yeah.
So, walk me
But
through and walk our audience through like because you are in phenomenal shape right now. Like, you look absolutely amazing. And I would like to know, oh, well, I already know what you do because I coach you, but I'm sure our audience wants to know, like, what does a normal week look like for you now, food and training?
so I am uh, training 4 days a week, and I am getting like, I try to kind of fit little walks in throughout the day,
Hmm.
which is really nice to get moving. That's not something that I used to do. I used to like just force myself to do 40 minutes of cardio and hate it. And I'm like, oh, let's just like keep moving throughout the day.
Yeah.
And I am currently tracking my food, but I'm like not taking a tiny piece of chicken off because it's 2 grams too much or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like pretty diligent about prepping my food on Sundays, so I'm quite organized with the food.
Yeah.
And I am having right now because I'm doing a cut, I'm having a free meal once a week and not worrying about it at all.
And that's a huge thing. So let's talk about your cut because when you came to me and I knew the history of everything that's happening, I did question you quite a bit about how are you going to feel about this cut. And then this past week we had a conversation about it and we sort of had to like plant our feet firmly in the ground of how this shows up for you. So talk to me about that.
Yeah, well, this is the first time that I've done anything like this that wasn't like for a show or because of my eating disorder. So I think because the cuts that I've done were for shows in the past, it was like all or nothing because, it means a placing.
Yeah.
And so it's been a bit of an adjustment for me to do this as just like a lifestyle thing where it's like just not a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like I do find myself occasionally like getting a bit rigid about things, and then I have to remind myself like, oh yeah, this is not about that.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And yeah, we hopped on a call right away when that was starting to happen
Hmm.
because the last thing we want to see happen is you go back down that rabbit hole of
Yeah.
going backwards when you've worked so hard to get where you are. Would you say you still have hard days? Like, is that just a one-off or like what do these hard days look like now compared to before?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I ever have hard days. I have moments,
Yeah,
but the moments are, the moments over time last a lot less time. Like that, it used to be a day and then it was, half a day and then it was a few hours and now it's like, I can turn it around in 10 minutes.
totally. You have that strength and you
Yeah.
have that confidence within yourself to do that. So what would
Yeah.
you tell someone who is exactly where you were? What would be your advice for them?
Mm. Definitely that you have to have patience. That
Oh,
like, healing does not happen overnight.
no.
Yeah, and yeah, you have to accept that it could take you know months or years,
Mhm.
and and that acceptance is very important. Like I had to accept where I was over and over and over.
That's a big one for sure is accepting. And I think, well, I think what happens for a lot of women who have competed and they're stuck in that rigidity and that obsessiveness and, counting everything down to the gram and I'm going to compete. No, I'm not going to compete. I'm going to compete. They're doing this back
Yeah.
and forth nonstop. What's getting in the way is fear,
Yeah.
right? And fear of being in that very uncomfortable place of losing control. And what if my body gains weight for a period of time? And what if I'm in this unbearable body for the rest of my life?
Yeah. And when so much of your worth is tied to the way that your body looks, that is terrifying.
It is. And I think it doesn't get talked about enough where, you do. And I just remember this so specifically from my competing days. And even afterwards, when I was maintaining this really crazy physique for a really long time, is like you kind of get known as the fit chick, and that's
Hmm.
your identity.
Yeah. I can remember people at the gym, like, years later, uh, a few people were like, "Oh, I saw your pictures on Facebook from when you were competing. I can't believe that's you." And you're like, "I think you're giving me a compliment,
Right?
but I don't know."
It's so much up in your head, right?
Yeah, right.
Or you see other competitors in the gym and like
Yeah.
okay, so this is a good question for you. When you like, I know you're kind of living in a bit more of a small town, but do you have any competitors at your gym?
I don't think so. Not that I can, no, I don't think so.
How do you feel it would be if you were to be in a gym surrounded by competitors?
It'd be fine.
Yeah.
I feel like yeah, I wouldn't really think about it.
Yeah. I don't think about it when I'm there now, but I feel like, well, I know for myself looking back, that would really fuck with my head.
Oh yeah,
And
it would have, like, a few years ago, very much fucked with my head.
yeah, and I would have been like, they're all waiting for me. Everybody wants to see
Yeah,
me on stage. I
yeah,
would have like come up with all these like weird things in my mind that weren't
yeah.
true, this self-importance
Hmm.
that really it's the weirdest thing because you end up with this great self-importance with the lowest self-worth.
Yeah,
It's like such a contradiction.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah. What would you tell someone who's still working with a coach who's like pushing the drugs, pushing the extremes on them? What would you tell them?
It's not worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not worth it for a trophy.
Yeah, it's funny when you look back on it now. In the moment, it probably felt really imminent, like I've got to
Oh
do this.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's probably a part of you that didn't even think about the consequences at the time.
No, well, and I was 18. I thought that, you think that won't happen to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And here's the thing is nowadays it's so normalized in the
Yeah.
sense that it's like, I remember back in my days, I'm going back decades now because I haven't competed in 10 years. And then it was, 20 years before that where things, anyways, it just wasn't talked about. And now it
No.
almost seems like it's just commonplace in the gym.
Yeah.
It's like Anavar's creatine.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it
Which
doesn't
is
matter what the
crazy.
difference is. Right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, Shannon, I really appreciate you being on the show today. Do you have anything more for audience before we wrap this up?
No, I don't think so. I'm really grateful that I started working with you again.
Thank you. Me too. It's really cool. Like I look back, I say this to you all the time, but like in my coaching roster, I've had some clients off and on for like 14 years. And almost all of them have competed at some
Mhm.
point. And so that's kind of like it's sort of like the safe haven for women who
Yeah.
have gone through these extremes and
Well,
are like,
yeah, I did. I thought, like, oh, I kind of feel like I could use some guidance. Well, I should call Jan.
that's kind of how it goes, right?
Yeah.
And I really love that and I appreciate it and I love you. So thank you for coming on today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so 10 years, her and I together on and off, and we took a break. Neither of us can say that during that time that was, I would say that was absolutely needed for her to do her personal growth. And this is the comeback that actually stuck for her. And this is what the work really looks like, not the Instagram version of look at my before, look at my after, because this isn't a 12-week transformation program. It's a relationship with self, with real setbacks, and somewhere real in the end where she can carry this with her for the rest of the life. If any part of her story sounded like yours, shoot me a line and let's talk. Until next time, bye for now.